There comes a moment on this journey that is so quiet it can easily be missed. Not because it is subtle in experience, but because it leaves nothing to point at. This moment arrives when there is nothing left to defend and nothing left to prove. Up to now, many layers have dissolved. The doer fell away. The seeker dissolved. Time loosened. The path ended. Life became ordinary and whole. But something even subtler can remain, a reflex. The reflex to explain yourself, to justify your choices, to silently prove that you understand, that you are right, that you are awake. Part 17 begins when even this reflex disappears. Not through discipline, not through restraint, but through recognition. You begin to see that defense was never protection, and proving was never truth. Defense only existed where there was a fragile identity. Proving only mattered where there was doubt. When identity dissolves, defense becomes unnecessary. When doubt dissolves, proof becomes irrelevant. This does not make you passive. It makes you free. You no longer feel the urge to clarify who you are. You no longer correct people internally. You no longer replay conversations trying to fix how you were seen. Life happens. Words happen. Misunderstandings may even happen, but nothing inside contracts. Earlier, even silence had a subtle tension. A sense of I must stay here. Now even that is gone. You are not holding a position, so there is nothing to defend. You are not representing an identity, so there is nothing to prove. This is where enormous energy returns. Most human exhaustion does not come from work. It comes from self-maintenance, from protecting an image, from explaining yourself inwardly, from rehearsing responses that will never be needed. When this drops, life becomes efficient. You speak when speaking is needed. You are silent when silence is natural. There is no internal negotiation. Words are no longer weapons. Silence is no longer strategy. Everything becomes simple. You may notice something surprising here. People may misunderstand you, and it no longer matters. They may disagree, and nothing tightens. They may project, and there is no impulse to correct. This is not indifference. It is clarity without self-reference. You are no longer managing how you appear. Earlier, even in awakening, there was still a subtle performance. Being calm, being conscious, being kind. Now, behavior is no longer a statement. It is just response. You help when help is needed. You say no when no is needed. You leave when leaving is natural. No guilt follows. No pride arises. This is not emotional detachment. It is emotional honesty without ownership. Feelings still come, but they do not demand defense. Anger may appear, but it does not justify itself. Sadness may appear, but it does not explain itself. Joy may appear, but it does not announce itself. Everything moves through cleanly. At this stage, even spiritual language feels unnecessary. You do not describe yourself as awakened. You do not carry insight as identity. You do not measure depth. Depth no longer matters. Life does not ask to be understood. One of the clearest signs of this stage is how quickly things end. A disagreement ends when it ends. An emotion ends when it ends. A situation resolves and leaves no residue. Nothing follows you. You do not carry the day into the night. You do not carry the past into the present. You do not carry explanations into silence. This is not forgetfulness. It is completion without storage. You may notice that people around you feel safer, not because you are doing anything, but because you are not defending anything. There is no resistance to push against. Truth does not defend itself. It does not argue. It does not persuade. It simply does not move when challenged. And because it does not move, nothing needs to be protected. Earlier, you may have felt a need to be understood. Now, understanding feels optional. Connection happens without agreement. Love happens without validation. This is where humility becomes natural, not moral. You are no longer humble because you should be. You are humble because there is no structure left to be proud. At the same time, weakness disappears. You are not trying to be strong. Strength remains because there is no internal conflict draining it. You may notice that decisions become very clean. There is no hesitation based on image, no fear of being judged, no need to justify your direction. You act, you respond, you move on. Life becomes very efficient. This is why Joel spoke of the peace that passeth understanding, not peace as a feeling, but peace as absence of friction. Nothing inside argues with what is happening. This does not mean life becomes smooth. Challenges still arise. Loss still occurs. Bodies still age. But there is no internal courtroom. No prosecutor. No defense attorney. No verdict. Things happen. Responses happen. And then life continues. This is the end of psychological violence. Violence is not just physical. It is the constant inner resistance to what is. When there is nothing to defend, resistance dissolves. When there is nothing to prove, comparison ends. You stop living against life. You live as life, without commentary. One of the most beautiful signs of this stage is laughter. Not laughter as joy, but laughter as lightness. You stop taking your own thoughts seriously. You stop taking situations personally. You stop taking identity as real. Life feels workable again, simple again. Not because it improved, but because you stopped fighting it. There is no arrival here, no conclusion, no final badge. Just a quiet fact. Nothing is required of you to be what you already are. You do not need to defend truth. Truth is not fragile. You do not need to prove understanding. Understanding is not personal. You are free, not as an achievement, but as an absence of burden. If you notice this right now, gently, without analysis, is there anything you are still trying to explain? Anything you are still trying to justify? Anything you are still trying to prove? Do not answer. Just notice how unnecessary it already feels. This is the simplicity beyond awakening. This is life without armor. This is being without defense, without proof, without weight. If this resonates quietly but deeply, like this video so others can find it, subscribe for teachings that dissolve the last inner struggle, and comment below, nothing to defend, nothing to prove,